Hello, hello. Welcome to Community Coffee Time. All right, welcome. We are live on Facebook, so if you want to comment, I'll be keeping an eye on that as well. There is usually like a 20-second delay, so just keep that in mind. That I might be delayed in seeing your responses, but if you're watching live, I love to interact with the comments. And if you're watching later, please feel free to comment if you have any questions or comments as well, because I'll probably respond to those too later as well. And we'll get this up on YouTube eventually, um, hopefully later today or tomorrow after we're done going live here. So today I'm going to talk about songwriting and music therapy. Kind of give like a brief overview of some of the uses, and then I will demonstrate an example that you guys can use with your family, with any students or clients. Really, whether you are a clinician yourself, or you or someone you love are in music therapy, or you don't know much about music therapy. I think there'll be a lot that you can take away from our little coffee talk today. Speaking of which, today I have a spicy mocha from Caribou, and I am loving the Christmas packaging like a lot. I think it's so cute. So I recommend it. I mean, unless you don't like spicy things, but spicy mocha, I love like this kind of winter drink. Um, and it's my coffee choice of today. Treating myself a little bit. Awesome. All right, so let me pull up a couple notes really quick. So, songwriting is an intervention, an activity. There's a lot of different ways you can describe kind of how it's used in music therapy. I'm going to read a bit from Bruscia, Defining Music Therapy. Highly recommend this book. And he calls it a music experience. So, kind of getting away from intervention or activity. This is a music experience that can be utilized in music therapy by board certified clinicians. So, what I think is really cool about it is it's a method under types of music experience, and he calls them compositional methods. And this is kind of where songwriting and music therapy falls under in different kinds of compositional methods. And he really like emphasizes that while you're creating these songs together with the client, the therapist kind of takes responsibility for more of the technical aspects, especially if the client is not as musically trained as the professional. That therapist takes on that role of more technical stuff. So maybe the client writes the lyrics, but then the therapist is going to kind of write and provide that harmonic under accompaniment of the music, and that's kind of their role. And there's a lot of different goals. I really wanted to read a couple. Develop skills in creating a structure within which to express one's own thoughts and feelings, and with the thoughts and feelings one shares with others. Develop skills in organizing thoughts and feelings. Develop the ability to explore various ways of expressing thoughts and feelings. Develop decision-making skills. Develop ability to document and communicate a way for others to recreate. Explore therapeutic themes in music, and integrate and synthesize parts into wholes. And those are just like examples of kind of how these compositional experiences can be used in music therapy. So even just reading through those, there's a lot of self-expression goals, a lot of communication goals, and using songs to communicate and express like those emotional goals as well too, or to really like process through something. But there's also like a cognitive aspect of it, of making decisions, of sequencing, of making something that somebody else can recreate later. And then once you have like a songwriting intervention or experience, you can move into like an experience where you can a more recreative one where you're playing the song that has been created by your client or clients. And he has variations of the composition. Songwriting is kind of the theme of today, and he really categorizes that as like that's the client writing an original song. A very common one among music therapists is song transformation, and this is kind of where like piggybacking comes, where like you use a melody of a song that's already familiar to write a new song, and the therapist can either write that, bring it in, or write that with the client. And fill in the blank songs are very common, where you take a song that's well known and then you can put blanks in that the client fills in and songwrites that way. So instead of writing like a whole song, a lot of songwriting is accessible with this song transformation in these really familiar tunes that make it accessible as well too, because the client's going to be motivated sometimes by familiar tunes. They're going to recognize it, so it could be a little easier to sing or conceptualize choices. And then on the flip side, if something's too familiar, they might not want to transform the song. In that case, you might need to go to more of songwriting, like original composition. And then he also has instrumental composition, where you would focus on instruments versus lyrics. Notational activities, I do that a lot with my students, where we're kind of we choose between different like rhythmic notation and rhythmic duration lengths to decide like how to write a rhythm, and that's our songwriting, or that's our notation activity. So there's a lot of different ways that you can access the songwriting in music therapy, for these different goals, for this different expression. And then the client is really creating their own music, which I find a lot of fun with a lot of the students and clients that I work with, where they realize, I think a lot of people, when they hear songwriting, they think of like Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, and it's like, oh, like that's not me. I'm not famous like Taylor Swift. How can I write a song? And then you can use something as simple as fill in the blank, or choosing between different rhythmic lengths and notation. So I can show some of them. Like here's the quarter note. Got different visuals like that clients and students can choose and then make their own measure. And then you can start being like, you wrote that, you're a songwriter too. And that can mean a lot to a lot of the clients that I work with and a lot of the students that I work with, that songwriting isn't this like scary thing over here that only like a minority of the population can do. Everybody can songwrite and make meaningful and good music. There's a lot of research on it as well too. There's a lot that we could talk about like research wise. That's why I kind of prefaced the beginning of community coffee time with like, this is definitely like kind of a brief overview. We'll get into examples here in a couple minutes for sure. I did want to touch on a couple research studies. I think it's important because music therapy is evidence-based, and I don't want to leave any of the evidence out of a conversation as well too, but there's definitely like a lot of directions we could head in kind of talking about this research. What I wanted to briefly discuss is, along with songwriting, there's a technique in neurological music therapy, and I'm not a trained NMT, but I've learned about this technique in school, and it's called musical speech stimulation. And this is where you kind of like leave like a blank at the end of a phrase, and that's where the client would fill it in and kind of stimulate their speech. And so it's not, I feel like this one's interesting because it reminds me of the fill in the blank. And the idea is you want to stimulate the speech, but I feel like it could be really cool to combine that idea with like original ideas as well too. So for example, it would be like, a good one would be, a very basic example would be twinkle, twinkle, little, and then you would wait and kind of prompt, and the client would go star. And a lot of times musical speech stimulation is used with clients. We're working on that expressive communication, trying to elicit more verbal speech. This is very popular or popularly used with clients who have suffered a stroke and are recovering and trying to gain that language back, because music sometimes is unaffected when the speech is affected. So they might not be able to talk, but they might be able to sing that last word of a phrase and keep building and building and building until their speech skills get back. So I feel like it could be cool with some clients to also, if you're working on this expressive communication or even articulation, you could have them choose the word at the end of the phrase, like rewrite a song or have an original song, and then on their turn, they have to express it in their way. And it's not always verbal too. Clients can definitely communicate in nonverbal ways or whatever ways they are. And if you're working on that too, just like working on overall communication, maybe they have an AAC device and you prompt them to have their original word at the end of a phrase. And then the other kind of research I wanted to touch in that really overlaps a lot with my work is different auditory motor mapping kind of within songwriting. And what I mean by this is research has found, and all the research I'm talking about today, I'll have some links in the description that you guys can check out too. I think they're all hopefully open articles so that everyone can access them. But there's been found neurological overlaps in brain networks in rhythm perception in music, and this has helped with speech by pairing rhythmic words while you're drumming. So, for example, like apple, Thanksgiving. That's kind of a long one, but those are examples of how that rhythmic and motor pairing can be used to work on speech because there are these overlaps in the brain, and that rhythm really helps open channels neurologically where you can start improving speech, improving motor, because there is that overlap in the brain versus just trying to get them to say it. That motor pairing can help build those connections. And they have found with children with autism specifically, they improve the articulation of words and phrases through drumming and speaking, and they were using the rhythm and movement to activate different pathways in the brain to create that neuroplasticity. So, and then there's another neurological music therapy technique. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's like melodic intonation therapy, I believe, or something that I'll put that in the show notes afterwards. I'll correct myself. But they like tap the hand while singing, and it's the same idea, providing this motor almost support that helps connect those pathways in the brain, because rhythm is such was accessible activator for different clients that we work with. So you might be wondering, who would songwriting be good for, and what kind of clients do I work with, do other music therapists work with, where songwriting would be an appropriate music experience? And my answer is everyone. I really do think I think every person can benefit from songwriting in one way or another, whether that's children with disabilities, adults with disabilities, psychiatric patients, hospice patients, older adults. I think whoever you're working with, songwriting could be used beneficially. And I think it's going to depend on those goals, on those goal domains. Is your client working on communication? Are they working on self-expression? Are they working on cognitive skills, emotional goals? Are they working on leisure skill goals where they really want to be a songwriter? And those are going to be different factors to take in. If the answer is yes to those, I think songwriting, whether it's song transformation, notational activities, can all be really powerful and really fun ways to work on these goals. So I'm going to show an example of something that I've been doing with some of my clients and that I plan to do kind of the rest leading up to Thanksgiving. And before I do, I wanted to share some examples of different music therapy blogs that have really great songwriting resources. Some are like original songwriting things, and others are like piggyback, others are fill in the blank, but they're all like really, really good resources. So if you are watching live and would like to leave something that you are grateful for in the comments, we will use that later. And if not, I have plenty of ideas too. Thanks to Target. Let me get that. Thanks to Target Dollar Store. I think I got these last year in their like little dollar department. And it's got 30 different kind of grateful prompts, so I'll definitely use a couple of these. But if you're watching and you want to share anything you're grateful for, please comment. And while I kind of wait to see if anybody wants to. I will share my screen and show you guys a couple of these resources. Here we go. So the first one I wanted to talk about is the Groovy Garfoose. So the Groovy Garfoose has so many good ideas for music therapists. So if you're looking for more resources, I highly recommend this blog. Their link is in the description, and boom, right away, you can see they have a Thanksgiving piggyback songwriting. How awesome. Thankful for. You can see that musical speech stimulation having it at the end of the phrase too. Oh, I love this one. When mashed potatoes hit your plate on your turkey day. That's Thanksgiving. So many fun. Old Turkey Road. Oh, so fun. So you can see, you can make it Thanksgiving themed, and they just have so many good resources usually. So definitely highly recommend it. So let's check out another one. If you're tuning in and want to leave something you're grateful for in the comments, we will put that in a songwriting in a second. Otherwise, it's all good. I've got plenty of prompts as well. The next one I wanted to share is Aspire Music Therapy. And the link I'm sharing in the description and showing you right now is to the newsletter. She sends out so many songwriting resources very often in these newsletters. You get free monthly songwriting sheets, and they're really good. A lot of them incorporate pop music, so really great for like teenage, adult clients where you're trying to find some of that older, more appropriate music. I found these resources very helpful. So I would definitely sign up for this newsletter. And then finally, I have Spectrum Press. This is Spectrum Creative Arts kind of blog website, and they have a lot of good resources for music therapists if you're looking for different intervention, song ideas, music experiences. And they have a good shop. And in their songwriting tab specifically, they have a lot of different ideas you can start looking at, and they're always adding new things all the time. Actually, I'm working on some right now. Kind of a hint. Next month, we'll have something to share with you guys, I think. So you can see they have a warm and fuzzy songwriting, and they have really good like videos usually and implementations with a lot. Yeah, here's the video, and they also have a really good newsletter too. So definitely resources to check out. All right, so now it's our turn to songwrite together. Let me get myself set back up here. All right, so what I've been doing is kind of pairing that idea of the motor kind of planning with the rhythms to activate those neurological pathways with a drumming songwriting intervention. So let me get a couple of these out. We'll do like 3 maybe. Okay, I've picked out 3 of them here. And so with clients, they can either, if they want and have access to, they can come up with original ideas. If they need a list to choose from, I'm happy to support that. If they need visuals to choose from, I'm happy to support that, because songwriting's not always verbal. Sometimes there is that nonverbal communication that different individuals communicate with. So it's adapting to everybody's communication styles. So for today, I just picked out 3. I have My Community, Autumn, and Good Health. So And I love all those things. I'm very grateful for all those things. So I'm choosing those today. If with clients, I'd have them choose between different ones or come up with their own, and then we will drum them. So let me get my bongos. My bongos here. And I just came up with a very simple chant. There's different ways you could definitely structure things like this. If you wanted to sing a song to kind of lead into it, I think that would work as well too. But just to keep it as simple as possible, so that I can adapt it for as many clients, I came up with a little chant. And all you do is say, I'm grateful for autumn, autumn, autumn. I'm grateful for my community, my community, my community. I'm grateful for good health, good health, good health. And that's really just kind of the basic outline of my little music experience. And you can work on communication goals, work on self-expression, decision making, all the kind of things that were talked about before, and even motor planning with the drumming aspect of it, if that's something that your clients or students are working on. So that is my grateful drumming. You know, if you're a clinician, feel free, of course, to use that, to check out these resources. And if you are watching and have kiddos, I think this is a really simple activity you can do at home with your family. If you don't have drums, that's totally okay. You can drum on a kitchen bowl, you can drum on the floor, but it could be a different way to identify things that you're grateful for this year. And then it's going to be working on those speech goals, working on self-expression. There's so many benefits of drumming in general and drumming in a group too. With mental health, it's very good and improves mental health, shown in studies that I've posted about before. So I think it could just be a really fun way to maybe mix up Thanksgiving this year, and just identify those things that you and your family are grateful for. So to wrap up, I just have a couple announcements. I have 2 drumming groups this weekend at 10 a.m. Mountain Time is our adult online bucket drumming group. And we will be doing this in this group. And if that's something that you're interested in and you're interested in learning how to drum, we would love to have you. I'll put the registration in the description. It's not too late to sign up. It's $30 for the session, and you'll learn the basics of drumming. And this week specifically for Thanksgiving, we'll really focus in on what we're grateful for too. And then at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, I have a group for kids. Registration for that closes tomorrow. We will also be doing some gratitude drumming as well and some Thanksgiving activities. So if you're interested in signing up for either of those, the information will be in the description, and we would really love to have you. Other updates are on Monday, I'm going live at 3 p.m. Mountain Time it's a benefit concert, pretty casual. It's just me playing some music, but the idea is I'm raising money for Friends of Broomfield for their Friendsgiving fundraising campaign this month. They're a nonprofit, and COVID's been hard on many of the nonprofits this year because they haven't been able to fundraise like they have in previous years. So I'm hoping to raise some funds for them and spread some holiday Christmas cheer, playing some songs on Monday. So it's totally free to tune in, and I'd love to have you join in. And if you feel like donating, I'll put that link in the description as well. And then finally, with Christmas coming up, if you want to give the gift of music to somebody this year, I am providing online music online music therapy, but also online lessons specifically for drumming, voice, guitar, ukulele, and piano is what I offer online. And if you or a loved one are interested in learning any of those instruments, consider maybe giving some lessons as a gift this year, support small business. And feel free to message me if you're wondering what that would look like. We could set it up for a month or 2 of lessons, and you can give the gift of those lessons to somebody else. So yes, awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in as I kind of debriefed really a quick brief, I should say, of songwriting and music therapy. It's an expansive practice. Many music therapists do it, whether they're writing their own songs, or writing songs with their clients, or both. And I hope that you got something from today, whether it's a resource in the blog or kind of realizing that you can songwrite too, and or using that drumming at home with your family, which would also show that you are all songwriters. I wish you all the best. I wish you all a safe and happy Thanksgiving. I know it's very different this year, but we can use music to really ground in what we are grateful for when times are difficult. So I hope that this helps you today. Again, maybe I'll see some people on Monday when I'm singing some holiday songs. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.